Hi, I'm Katie Barr, and this is Boca Matters. The Boca Raton Historical Society recently had a panel discussion recounting the genesis of our CRA in the downtown and the creation of Mizner Park. With us today is George Comejo, the CRA Director of Hollywood, Florida, and the former CRA Director for Boca Raton, Florida. Hey, George.
Hi, Katie. How are you?
Thanks for stopping by.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, I know you were a city employee for 28 and a half years.
Yes.
Maybe you'll give us a little bit of that background before we get into the CRA.
Sure. Well, I started with the city back in 1981 as a planning assistant, and in 1985 I went to work for the CRA. At that time, the Barber Financial Center was probably the most important project downtown. And in 1988, I became the deputy director under Joyce Costamiras, and Joyce announced her departure shortly thereafter. They appointed me as the executive director of the CRA.
So for our viewers that don't really know what a CRA is, just briefly, what is a CRA?
Sure. CRA stands for Community Redevelopment Agency. And fundamentally what it entails is that if you as a municipality find that you have certain conditions that meet the definition of slum and blight as defined under the law, you can take certain actions to create a funding mechanism that allows you to basically get tax dollars that are generated from the area that you identify. So it's really the city and Palm Beach County.
And so we did have a blighted area in Boca Raton.
We did. We have some pictures to prove it.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, there's the variety of things that make up the definition of slum and blight. And among them is, like, for example, inadequate street layout, inadequate infrastructure, whether it be, the electrical grid or the paving and drainage. And in the case of downtown Boca Raton, you will see some old photographs that, depict drainage or the lack of drainage as one of the fundamental challenges that we had in downtown Boca Raton.
The flooding.
At that time.
I remember the flooding.
Was really significant. And honestly, what saved many parts of Boca from being really bad is that because it's basically beach sand, the soil or the water percolates fairly quickly through the soil, so it could have been way worse. But through the efforts of the CRA and the city working jointly, an infrastructure program was developed and implemented, and here we are.
So initially the CRA had a civilian board, correct? So what's the benefit of having a city council as our CRA board, or is there a difference?
Well, in fact, one of the things that occurred after Mizner Park started, because of course Mizner Park was under construction at the time, and there was a lot of controversy about Mizner Park, all stemming, in my opinion, from an article that appeared in one of the local papers, frankly unfairly depicting an original Mizner Park concept to what was actually being implemented, and so that misled a lot of people. I think that the advantage, I guess, if any, to the appointed board is that, you for some of these things to happen, you really need political courage.
Right.
Right. And political courage is a pretty difficult thing to find.
Right.
Sometimes. And so the interesting thing is that the appointed CRA board really did nothing without the approval of the city council. The voters should have the right to elect people that make decisions about any development issue or any policy issue in a city.
Right.
I think that's why it was turned over to the city council, and I think having one body as the policy body citywide is probably not a bad thing. And that way everybody works for the same policy body.
And you said in the beginning that when the CRA district is founded or the plan is laid out, the property values are basically frozen?
Well, what happens is they identify the value in the base year, and that's what serves as the baseline for determining what will be the future increment. Okay. So the increment is determined by the increase in value from the base year, and that's what goes back to the CRA for reinvesting in the district.
But I mean, in our downtown, it seems like all we're seeing is more new development of high-rises, and it's very little going back to small business or restoring historical buildings. which I think would also be
Hmm.
something that a CRA would
Sure, I mean,
want to
his-
focus on.
Historic building restoration is
Yeah,
clearly, an objective.
right.
Absolutely.
And in Hollywood, you have two districts, right? You have a beach district and a
Correct.
downtown district.
Correct.
So do you have two CRAs?
We have one CRA body
Mm-hmm.
that oversees two districts. I happen to be the director of both.
Mm.
Right.
And you're doing some exciting things with parking garages.
They're
And,
building a new garage on the beach. So as you probably know, parking
Yeah.
is a
Mhm.
significant challenge in Hollywood.
Right.
In fact, I've been frankly very blessed to have worked with two public spaces that have been identified by the American Planning Association as a great public space in America. One being Mizner Park, and one being the Broadwalk in Hollywood.
Oh my
So-
gosh.
So it's really been
That's
quite an honor to
That sure is.
to have been involved in both of those projects. Yeah.
So just getting back quickly to the funds that the CRA accrues.
Hmm.
CRAs sunset at some point, don't
Correct,
they?
correct.
So then what happens to that money?
Well, the money it will go back to Broward County. I mean to Palm Beach County in the instance of Boca Raton, and then the city will retain the value of from that base year that has been going back to the CRA at approximately 95%. So the city will see a very significant boost in the general fund, presumably.
Wow. Well, that should make Mr. Arnell very happy.
Well, I think it should make everybody very happy.
That's like a mortgage burning
Been a lot
party.
of bloodshed over those repayments.
Well, George, I mean, we could go on and on. There's
Yes.
so much
Yes, indeed.
interesting information about the CRA. I appreciate your taking the time to
It's my
stop in and
pleasure.
talk with
Anytime.
us.
Thank
and
you.
Keep us posted as to your progress.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
That's it for today, folks. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.